Hello everyone and welcome back to more AEW on TEW 2020. We are here at the New Year's show, but first we gotta go through AEW Dark. Kota Ibushi starts it off by defeating Frankie Kazarian. Deonna Purrazzo defeats Viperous. Layla Hirsch defeats Tara Shirk. Evil Uno defeats Chuck Taylor. Andrew Everett defeats Flamita. Keith Bolton defeats Shima. Nathaniel Murphy defeats Robert Anthony. The Von Erichs defeat David Fudra and Will Hobbs. Will Hobbs, when I initially started the save, he was not in the Real World Chronicles, so I've imported him from the version that was in the, I believe, October. So Will Hobbs is now here on AEW. And then Nick Jackson defeats Matt Cardona, and they have good chemistry, which is always nice. Now, for the New Year's show. Alright, so we start our show with the recap. Oh, okay, this is still pre-show, but of the D&D shenanigans, and this is when things really get to shenanigans. So, remember, last time, the D&D group were ready to enter the Dragon's Lair, and they start off the session by actually entering. And they're transported into their game world. Not their characters transported into the game world. The wrestlers themselves are. They only have their ring gear on, which they weren't wearing their ring gear before. They were just, in street clothes, except for Serpentico, still wearing his mask because Serpentico. And they're approached by Matt Hardy. Brandon Cutler, he was the DM, now he's in his ring gear. He is still injured. And he asks Matt Hardy when he approaches, what's the meaning of this? Matt Hardy, he wasn't there before, now he is here. What's the problem? And Matt Hardy says, yes, the Master of Dungeons rightfully has some questions. You are, from the start of the so-called game of delving into dungeons and searching for dragons, there has been an evil spirit that has come into the world. Were the spirit of evil to run amok, without any way to stop it, it would have corrupted the world as we knew it. It is unfortunate that such a thing has needed to happen, but I have used my powers over the multiverse in order to transport you into the realm of your own creation. This evil must be purged from the world, and I shall assist in bringing you back. And Peter Avalon is very, he's questioning this. He's like, what do you mean, bring us back? And Matt Hardy just laughs, and he says, an unfortunate side effect of traveling in the multiverse means that few can travel between them. In order to seal the spirit, I have had to transport you into the world, and you are unfortunately stuck until we can seal the spirit for good. Through our expedition, we may be able to find some people who resemble those we know within your reality, but they are not truly them. The only ones who are within this world that are from your reality are us. Now, we cannot delay. We must find the spirit. And they begin to head off. So, yeah. This is where the D&D story was leading. These guys are actually stuck in their D&D world, which can lead to some shenanigans. It will lead to some shenanigans. We start off the show with FTR defeating the Private Party. Yeah. Pretty simple. Chris Jericho comes down to the ring after the match, and he has his ring gear because his match is up next. Stares down Kurt Angle and he says, Kurt, you know what? I think that after this, it's time that the Inner Circle gets serious. We're done playing around with stupid idiots like Jungle Boy and using B teams in order to get those tag championships. At Revolution, I'm going to be going against your champions there. Revolution is the time for the Inner Circle to really take over, Kurt. Now, go out and scram. I have a match to prepare for. So, when FTR were doing their open challenge, the only people that answered were members of the Inner Circle. You had, I think it was Guevara and Hager, and then Guevara and Austin. No, it was Proud and Powerful, and then Guevara and Austin, I think it was. And then they canceled that. Jericho's like, alright, fine. I'm getting involved with the teams now. So, yeah. Just saying that, I imagine we have a commercial break as entrances go in. And Chris Jericho and Brian Cage defeat Jurassic Express after Ricky Starks interferes and attacks Luchasaurus. Brian Cage sprains his bicep. It's fine. Pretty decent match. I probably should have had some things to cool down the crowd, but whatever. And Jungle Boy apparently was the one that botched a move and strained his bicep. Hikaru Shida then defeats Kairi Hojo in a very nice match. Kairi actually outscoring Shida, which is pretty impressive. What's their dirt sheet behind that? Great gimmick is probably the main thing. Star quality. Yeah. After this, the lights go out, and the sound of unfamiliar music plays, which means that there is someone new debuting, and you probably already have the vignette, the thing on your screen. The Titantron's vignette ends with a golden crown being placed atop the head of Ashley Flair. Flair walks out to the ring. She's flanked by 3 other debutees, and they make sure that her robe doesn't get dirty, so, they're picking you up, they're making sure everything's fine. She gets to the edge of the ring, 2 of her attendants lower the ropes, she enters, and then she stares down Shida in the title, and she just kind of looks almost disgusted with it. Then scoffs and leaves. Her attendants follow suit. Pretty poor segment, but we have Ashley Flair, Charlotte. She started off this save on hiatus, and her contract with WWE actually ran out while she was on hiatus. She recently came back, so I have brought her back, or I've brought her into AEW to help bolster the women's division. Our 3 attendants are, they're all gens, so, yeah, I'll take it. I'm actually very glad that this one in particular is really good, because she actually has like 70-some star quality, so she's a pretty good prospect. But they are starting off with Ashley Flair. Unfortunately, not the best gimmick, but it's fine. After this, Cody defeats Brody Lee in a cage match. My initial plan was to have Brody win this, but Brody's been a really underwhelming champion. He's still only well known, I think. He might be star, but he's just not really gotten any popularity gain from the beginning of the series, so kind of ending that experiment off a little early. Don't worry, the war will still continue, because if we head on to our next segment, Cage is raised, and members of the Dark Order rush out to try to beat down Cody, but members of the Nightmare family interrupt. There's a huge brawl, and as this is going on, Jonathan Gresham, Matt Cardona, and Scorpio Sky rush out, and they have Brandy Rhodes and Jordan Grace. Some other lesser members of the Dark Order follow close behind. So presumably these 3 basically did a jailbreak while Brody Lee was distracted. And Cody rushes out of the ring. He embraces Brandy, and Brody orders the Dark Order to leave. He leaves through the Brody himself leaves through the crowd and says that Cody may have won the battle, but the war is far from over. After this, MJF defeats Garza Jr. as expected. And this I used to cool the crowd, because next up we have our world title match. So, MJF, he keeps his world title shot at Revolution. Really, that should kind of be expected. A lot of these matches were probably pretty expected for the results. So, yeah, it's fine. MJF picking up the win. And, yeah. Jon Moxley defeats Kenny Omega. Kenny actually outscores Mox, which is surprising. But, problem is, they don't have chemistry. Yeah. So, that kind of let us down, because Kenny and Moxley don't have chemistry. Which sucks. Oh well. After this, Kota Ibushi comes down to the ring. He gets next to Kenny, and he's talking to him. We can't really see what they're saying. They have a long conversation. Moxley's already long gone. He left with Renee. And Kota, he offers to help Kenny up with a hand. Kenny slaps it away, rejecting Kota. And Kota looks very sad about this. He walks away. And he walks away as the show fades to black. Yeah. We started off really nice. And then, if they even had neutral chemistry, this show probably would be mid-70s, but they unfortunately have, I think it's awful chemistry. I was aware of this when going into book the show. I had forgotten about it in the build-up to it, but on one of the live events, I had them wrestle against each other, and they showed to have awful chemistry, so that is a bit unfortunate. However, this is a big step ahead for things to come, and we'll be beginning our real road to Revolution.